but we know you are serious and all about the business. We were very wanted on this panel because each of you all are trying to do things outside of what people think that you should be doing, right? Egypt, you're just not a real estate agent. You got a show. Terri, you are directing. Kaye has got, I see our arts and culture director here, David. Wait till I tell you about Kaye. Kaye has an incredible array of sets, various sets. So we're here at Fulton Films, we are trying to work to find some warehouses to be able to help so that, you know, some of those smaller productions of people who always say, I just don't have any money, right? We're trying to find ways to do things. And then, of course, Sanya, we're just so proud of what you're doing, and we're proud of you on the track, but we're really proud of you about Mommy Nation. You guys jump in at any time. What has been the most challenging issue along this journey, understanding that each of you all have a very different journey? In fact, Terri, I think I just want to start with you, because you're the OG, and so you've been here, done that.
Does that mean I'm the oldest?
No, that means I'm the oldest, technically, but
we don't call it old, we call it seasoned.
What do you think has been the most challenging issue for you?
I think really the most challenging is staying true to yourself in a way. It's a business that is based on relationships, and you know who you know, and so you always want to make sure that when you're meeting people, that you are, of course, genuine.
For me, the biggest challenge was first stepping into my power, my personal power, recognizing that I am enough just as I am, just because I am.
Yes, ma'am.
For all of us. And then it was the stretch, it was the pivot, it was the rebrand. Still work that job till I could build my business. And then I was a real estate agent, doing very well, but again, what will you have me do next? Not being afraid to stretch, to think bigger, and then have the courage to move into that power and pivot, right? So not just a real estate agent, but again, what will you have me do, God? How can I use that voice I had from the radio to further brand myself in this space? Thus the television shows. And then, being the Scorpio that I am, it's, you know, we want to make sure that we are fully represented as women of color as well. So if I'm going to be on television, I don't want to be who you think I should be. I want to be what a real black woman is. If we're going to show our family, I don't want to be someone's what a black family looks like, that becomes a caricature. So if we're going to do this, we have to be executive producers of our show. And that's how Married to Real Estate came about.
Yes. Sanya, I want you to, only because I recently heard it, I want you to share the story about the challenging moment and when we just knew you about to win, and then how that really changed your life. Tell everybody what I'm talking about.
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. Delighted to be here and to be on the panel with all of you. I just admire and respect you guys so much and your accomplishments, so it's just really great to be here. What Shaunya is talking about is probably one of the most difficult times in my career. So it's funny now because most people know me from Housewives, but I had a whole life before that as a track and field athlete, and I feel like the lessons I learned from track have fully prepared me and equipped me for everything that I'm moving on to do now. But in 2008, I was favored to win gold at the 400. I had won every single race that year, was world #1 for 3 or 4 years prior to the games, and everybody just knew I was gonna cross that finish line first, and it just wasn't meant to be. On that day, I finished third, and it felt like the most epic failure that you can experience. And when you're in the Olympics, you know the moment you cross the finish line, you gotta wait 4 long years to have that opportunity again, if it ever happens again. Most people only go to 1 Olympics if you're lucky, and I would need to go to my 3rd Olympics to possibly win an individual gold medal. But I learned a lot from that experience, from that failure. The first thing I learned was not to put so much pressure on myself to execute and be great. I felt like I had lost my joy for what I was doing. I wasn't appreciating the opportunity. I wasn't having fun. And, if you're not having fun at what you're doing, like what's the point of it, And so through that time, the 4 years leading up to 2012, I got back to my joy of just being in Jamaica, running track, and just doing what I felt, using the gift that God had given me. And I trained my butt off. And in 2012, when I stood on the start line, I think it's important to go to that moment. I always kind of go to the end, but I think it's important to stop and think about, I'm standing on the track again, chasing this opportunity, this moment I wanted for so long. And of course, I have all this doubt in my mind, right? I remember being here 4 years ago and not winning this race. And, I remember preparing with all my might for this moment. I remember thinking that this is my time. I have prepared for this, I'm ready for this, and when I won that race, it felt like I ran into my destiny. This dream I had since I was 9 years old. So I'm happy you brought that up, because I don't get to talk about that moment a lot, but I think it's important for all of us to know that even when you think you've done everything and you think it's the perfect time, sometimes God has something else in store for you. And that's okay to sit in that moment, to sit in that pain, to understand what it is that God wants from you, and to keep chasing the dream. Right? Keep chasing and keep going for it, because you too can have that gold medal moment.
Yes, now you see why we had to have these ladies. Kaye, your story is amazing too. What do you think thus far has been the most challenging issue along this journey?
I think for me and a lot of people in my position is to not let the no's discourage you. There's so many that you get along the way. As an actor, you have to have so many auditions, and you get so many no's, and you miss so many callbacks. And then as a writer, to be respected in the industry because I didn't take the traditional route, and not being able to get into those rooms, and those people looking like, well, who are you? You didn't go through the normal trajectory that a writer goes through in Los Angeles, starting as an assistant, and then, going through the programs, and then being a staff writer, and then, a lead writer, and then a showrunner. So it was the process that I didn't go through. So for them to actually look at my script, that was no, until I could finally get in the room. And then to say, oh, I want to produce this as well. So there was years of no's, and to take those no's and not let them discourage you, not take those no's to heart, and still fight and fight and fight for what you know that you believe in, and what you can do. And so I think for me, along the way, it did hurt, and it did make me feel like I couldn't, but to keep going, keep pushing past that no, and get into that room and give it all you got, because trust in yourself. As Terri and Egypt and Sanya said, you got to trust in yourself and know that God gave you this gift that you need to share with the world.
Now, you all could be anywhere else, you could be in LA, you could be in New York, but you choose to be in this market. And why has this been so successful for you to be here? And Egypt, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you here, because a lot of your productions are based right here. So what makes this a great place? 13?
3 television productions, 13 seasons of television shows highlighting Atlanta real estate. That's what we've done here since my husband and I moved 10 and a half years ago. So that should tell you something. We've been pretty busy. I remember, as I mentioned, I was a New York City radio personality. And I was also a real estate broker at the time in New York and New Jersey. And I kept having dreams about Atlanta. Mind you, I'd only been in Atlanta one time. We didn't know anybody here, but I kept having dreams about Atlanta. And I told my husband, I think I'm getting a message that we're supposed to go visit Atlanta. So we actually do. We come and visit Atlanta. We fall in love with the city. The spirit of entrepreneurship, the beautiful excellence in blackness, and just the potential that was here. There was opportunity, there was fresh air, there were trees. And real estate really was wonderful because it did not cost what it costs today. So my husband and I said, this is a possibility. But then I got pregnant with our second child, so we stayed in place. But I kept having a dream. And put your hand up, baby, my lion. He was like, I'm sick of these dreams about Atlanta. But literally, it was God calling our next steps. I truly believe it. Sometimes it's the power of suggestion too, and when it's time to go, it's time to go. People literally told me, You're leaving the #1 media market to move to a city where nobody knows you. You're leaving your real estate business to start all over. And I said, but I gotta go. I'm gonna bet on me. And at some point we all have to take that step, get rid of the safety net, take a leap and see if we can fly, and 9 times out of 10 we absolutely will. Even if we fall flat on our face, there's still, in failure there is growth, and it's all in how you look at it, because trust me, I failed a few times too. But this is just, for us, this was where we felt we were always supposed to be. It has been healthy for our marriage, it's been healthy to build and grow a business for our children, and I've gotten to meet people that in the city that never sleeps, New York City, we would have probably sped past each other. You have the time here to grow, to build, to nurture your career, and still step out of the fast pace, if you will. It's like the best balance. That's why I've moved to Atlanta and love it.
So my journey here is a little different. So I was living in LA. I'm from the Bay Area. I moved to LA and I was living there and having my career. And I met a man that lived in Atlanta. And at the time, when we were starting dating, and we talked about him moving to LA because that's where I was based. He was retiring from football. He was working his way to get into the entertainment field. And so we were like, it made sense for him to make the move to LA. And as we started getting more serious in the relationship, we just started thinking, well, I have a 2-bedroom condo here in LA. You have a big house in Atlanta. Maybe I should move to Atlanta. And this was, I've been living here now 13 years. So this is when Tyler had actually opened his first studio. And it was before the business really had moved here. So when I told people, my family, my friends, that I was gonna make the move to Atlanta, everybody was like, you're crazy. You're gonna kill your career. How are you gonna audition for stuff? Out of sight, out of mind, all the reasons why I should not make the move. And so I just, again, about trusting your instincts and following your own intuition, I just started thinking like the last 2 projects before I even moved out here, they were shot here in Atlanta. I was here I did Daddy's Little Girl here. I had worked on another independent movie here. And I was just like, this man is here. We've fallen in love. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna take a chance and I'm gonna go. And I remember like when I early in my years in LA, I had this acting teacher that told the whole class that the worst thing you can do is to put your life on hold for this business. She said the best way to harness your craft, to be the best artist, is to live your life out full. And to me that meant pursue love, pursue family, pursue all the things in my personal life, and that would influence my artistry. And so I always remembered that. And so I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go. And so I went, and now I've been here for 13 years, been married for 14 years to that man, and have had an amazing career. Have been able to support our independent film company that you talked about, Nina Holiday Entertainment, which is based here. And, just been able to bet on myself, like Egypt said, been able to bet on myself in a space where I don't think I would have been able to be as brave in LA. Because you have to be, I don't know, just the cost of living and just how it's set up out there, you kind of play by the rules a little bit more. And I just felt like I gave myself permission and freedom to do it another way, to bet on myself.
I'm a move past just a little bit, Kaye, and I don't know what's going on with the mics today, but we're just going to make it work. One of the things that is not lost on me is that, or should not be lost on you, is that we put some ladies together for this particular panel. I'm curious to know, in an industry sometimes where you could be in competition with one another, what has it felt like getting love from other women? How has that helped or hurt your feelings? Or how has it encouraged you in this particular business? Kaye, how's the sister love out there?
For me, when I tell you I would not be where I am today without the support from some amazing Black women here in this industry in Atlanta, that was one of the main reasons why I didn't want to do anything anywhere else but here. Because I had actually went to Los Angeles and I was working for Moet Hennessy as a luxury brand manager, but I caught the bug while I was there, and I went to Stella Adler, the 2-year conservatory, and I trained with Ivana Chubbuck. Came back here at about, maybe it was 2016 into that, and that's when I first started booking roles. I was brand new when I worked with Terri Vaughn, and she was trying to teach me how, but I was a brand new actress, and without that kind of mentorship, and then booking more roles, and finally figuring out this is what I want to do, and then having the support of WIFTA, having the support of Fulton County Films, and all these great organizations, I don't think I would have been able to get the show, produce it here, have the support of Bridge 17, which is a female Black-owned script writing studio where I learned how to write scripts for 2 years. All of that happened in Atlanta, and I would not have had my own show in Los Angeles. I believe that 100%.
Sanya?
And it's funny because obviously there is a perception of, potentially what the Housewives is because of on camera, but there's a sisterhood and a love behind the scenes that I have felt. And I just came back from BravoCon. If you guys have ever heard of it, it's this, you were there, yes, in the house, and it was incredible because on a show like that, on a reality TV show, you give so much. You're giving your life, you're giving everything. It was incredible to receive some of that back from the fans and to hear what they connect with on the show. Like, obviously the drama, they come for the drama, but they stay for the relationships. They stay because they love seeing family on the platform, and they would come up and say, thanks for sharing your struggle with having a second child, and those things resonate with the audience, which I think is the best part of doing the show. But to your point about this community in Atlanta, I'm very new to Atlanta. I've only been here for about 1.5 years. And I came actually to do a show with Will Packer when I first came down. And it was just incredible. After 2 seasons of the show and COVID happened and unfortunately the show was canceled, my husband and I were thinking, would we go back to Austin? Because we had been in Austin for 14 years. Prior to that, went to school at UT, trained in Texas, and had a really, really good, strong foundation there of family and friends. But like many of you, we caught the bug too. I was like, oh my goodness, like you mentioned this Egypt, there's a point where you feel like you've done all that you can and you now need to stretch. And this has just been an incredible experience so far. Everyone that I've met, including you, since we've been connected, you invited me here, and it's just always been that. You meet one person, they tell you about somebody else, and constantly connecting you. And I feel like in this community, if they see your passion and your heart and your drive and your hard working, people want to add to that. They want to pour into you. And I'm excited for the future of my family here in Atlanta because it's just been an incredible experience in just the 1.5 years that I've been here.
I'm sorry for the mic issue. Egypt, what do you think would be, if you walked away from here, this stage, and you're like, oh, doggone it, I meant to tell them this. What is that one thing? You've spoken so much about following your passion and stepping outside. That ministered to me, by the way. What is it that you want to tell these folks about this industry, this time, the opportunities out there? Because you're doing something a little bit different than, and so talk to them a little bit about what we might not know about the TV programming side of the business? Because when we see you on TV, it just looks like, oh, how nice, you got a marketing show. Oh, wow, that looks
work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
It's work, but it started with a small idea about how to further brand our businesses and ourselves. I am a real estate broker. I am a designer, but I'm also a media personality. I'm a broadcaster. But in this day and age with social media, there's so much out there. How do you resonate? How do you stand out? How do you really build your brand to last with so many people who literally say they do something and don't do it? They've never put in the work, but they put it on social media every day, and because of the number of followers, you literally see brands and you see opportunities going to people who've never put in the work. And I'll have a 200% honest conversation with you. During the pandemic, where we had a kitchen island school, virtual school. You get the kids, you're schooling on one end of the island, you're trying to run your business on the other one, and like for 2 years, you feel like you're losing ground with everything you worked for because everything's happening online, right? Like on social media. So it starts to feel like your craft and what you've been doing is not yet valid or appreciated, and start to measure yourself against what you see. And so a good friend put me onto a book called Killing Comparison. Has anyone heard of that? It's a new book, actually, and I'm telling everybody about it because it's so powerful, especially right now in this day and age where so many of us just feel like we're measuring ourselves up against some invisible line. And the reality is a lot of what we're measuring ourselves up against, this measuring stick, is fake. A lot of it's fake. So live your authentic life. Be your best self. Those old rules still apply. Now, in developing our show Married to Real Estate and developing Flipping Virgins, it was always, what can we do to brand forward? I, as a real estate investor, which is how I started before I became a real estate agent or broker, it's just always thinking bigger. What's the next for you? And utilizing all the tools we have, which right now with social media, they're free, right? They're free. Just do consistently, and this is what Oprah told me years ago. I had the blessed opportunity to interview her in Toronto for the film festival. You can imagine I was a stutter muffin, and she walked in the room, Egypt, you know me, oh my God, Oprah. And she said, when I asked her, how have you been able to maintain your longevity and resonate on a deeper level across countries, across ethnicities? How have you been able to do it? And she said, just being Oprah, not being anyone else, being my best self, being persistent with it, and consistent with it on a daily basis. And I took that to heart because I think anybody who follows me or knows anything, I'm authentic, I'm real. You gonna get, right, Terri? You know me for years. I'm gonna be the same Egypt, and I'm just reaching for the best me that I can be. And so authenticity across everything you do, and instead of trying to pull up a seat to someone else's table, making your own table, setting your own table, right? Or flipping it over. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Sanya. So,
Good one.
Yeah, step into your power.
Yes. Final thoughts in terms of something you want to make sure that you share with this audience. We'll go from Sanya, Kaye. We'll go this way. Sanya.
I feel like there are two main things that kind of been resonating with me hearing the other ladies speak. It's the idea of persistency, really continuing to work hard towards your dream. I remember for me, my own personal experience, obviously I had put in more than my 10,000 hours in track and field. I started running when I was 7 and retired when I was 30, and had gotten to the height of my sport, had won Olympic gold. But what I realized was when I was making the transition, I had to do all that work all over again, right? I get invited to more rooms because of my accomplishments, but I don't get the opportunity if I don't show up ready and prepared to work hard. So this idea of being persistent, understanding that you got to put in your 10,000 hours, no matter what we see on social media, you still got to put in the work. I think that that's extremely important, and not giving up on your dreams. The other thing that we talked about tonight, Egypt, that you mentioned too, that I think is really important, is knowing when it's time to transition. I think a lot of us hold on to this gift that God only meant for us to have temporarily, and we want to make it a permanent thing, and God is telling us to go. And so I think you have to assess what point you are in your life. Is it this a point of transition where you need to let go of that thing that served you for a long time, that was incredible, that is preparing you for that next thing, and taking that leap and trusting that everything that you've done is going to prepare you for this next moment, and just stepping out on faith. So I think that those are the two things that we are constantly evaluating. Are we in an area right now in our lives that's serving us, or do we need to transition to something else because God is calling us to something greater? And I think if you're constantly doing that and you feel like you're living in your authentic truth, then you will continue to do great things, because greatness is not fleeting, it lives within us.
I think for me, life is all about seasons, right? And we will go through different seasons every cycle, but if you don't plant the seeds, you won't have anything to sow. And so with that being said, you have to do whatever dream, whatever goal that you want, do it now. Put in the work, get it done. If it's a film, if it's a short film, if it's, developing another kind of TV show, or if it's track and field, whatever it is, just make sure you do the task to get it done. Don't keep procrastinating and say, oh, I'm going to do it next year, or the year after, or the year after that, because we only have this one life to live. And then secondly, educate yourself on whatever it is that you're trying to get into. I think a lot of us don't want to invest in ourselves and pay for the classes or pay for the workshops or whatever it is. I paid for Stella Adler, I paid for Vaughn, I paid for 2 years of writing classes because I wanted to invest in me. And then I paid for my first short film. You're not going to get any money back from a short film, but it's your calling card for your art. And so don't be afraid to invest in you. Plant the seeds so that you can have something to sow later on.
Absolutely. I think the ladies have said it all. And you have to, I think the last point would be when you show up for what it is that you love, right? And we should all, especially at this point in life, it's like, what do you love? What do you love? And that's what you should be pursuing in life, because life is too short, right? We've lost so many people in these last few years, and that's the big light for me. It's like, life is too short. I want to do things that make me happy, that I love. But as I'm showing up at these spaces, I don't feel like I want to show up because I want to get something. Like, what are you going to get? What am I going to get? What am I going to get? I'm showing up to figure out what can I give in every situation. I want to know I know what my gift is, and that gift is given to me by God for me to give to you all, or whoever is listening, or whatever space I'm in. So whether I'm going in for an audition, or I'm going in to meet about a directing gig, or I'm speaking on a panel, in every room that I walk into in my life is now, what am I going to give in this room? What do I want to leave people with? How can I change some, or inspire, or uplift, or motivate, or make somebody just laugh and feel happy in the moment? What is it that I'm there to give? And I just feel like if all of humanity, and now I'm getting deep, if all of humanity showed up in life like that, in every space that we encounter each other, that we're each showing up to give something. What can I give? Just imagine how magical the world would be if everybody's showing up like that, and we're all just giving to each other in every moment. So that would be my last words.
Okay, I thought I gave last words, but I'll give one more. Here's what I'll say. Truly, I think when we hear the word network, we think about passing out cards and making sure people know, hi, I'm so-and-so, and then folks move on to the next. The power for your next could be right here. So when we connect with people, that's really what networking is. It's connecting the dots. And they say there's 6 degrees of separation, right, between what you want and the person that can help you get there. But I propose that there's less than that. There's probably 3 literally sitting right here. If we just aim to connect truly with people, and as Terri said, as I heard Sanya say, as I heard Kaye said, we're all saying that truly, guys, it has to be about joy first. Like in what I do, people are always asking me how to create multiple streams of wealth. And I say, you should be asking me how to create multiple streams of joy. Because it doesn't matter about the latter if you don't have that. Nothing matters if you don't have joy. So you've got to be doing it authentically. We heard that. What do you love? What do you really love? What brings you joy? We heard that. How do you live in service? Because when you sow seeds, then you can reap the rewards. So that's my last word. But truly what I encourage you to do here tonight before you leave is make a connection. Like really pull back the layers, make a connection with somebody, because whatever it is in your heart, that dream that you go to sleep at night thinking about and wake up in the morning thinking about, the person to help you get there could literally be sitting right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the real ladies of Atlanta film and TV. Please give them a wonderful round of applause. Thank you so much, sisters.